Okay, so this is just a quick video I'm doing in relation to a website called Islam QA, and it's actually a site that a lot of Muslims go to. And what people don't realize is that when the sort of Dawah people are, introducing new people to Islam, there's a whole heap of things that are actually on this Islam QA website, which the Dawah people won't talk about. So I'm just going to show you two things that it'd be good for if anyone knows any Muslims, they could show them these two searches on Islam QA and ask them what they think about it. Because one thing's for sure, they will not have been told this information by any Dawah Muslim who's on a Dawah table or is online about Islam. This is the sort of thing that is only for certain people. So just going to go to the first one. And so what you come on here, you just get this annoying thing comes up. And in the search, I'm going to put two simple searches. That's all it's going to be. So this is very easy to do. Anyone can do this. So the site is just islamqa.info, and you should default to English. And so in the search, all you got to do is for the first search, just put in slave women. That's all you have to type. Then press return. And then, right, close. Then you get your interesting answers come up. Now, now this is the thing about this is that these sort of Muslim scholars on here, they're actually truthful. What you need to understand is on Islam QA is that these, the people on here, they're actually scholars who are not Dawah Muslims. So these scholars are not Dawah scholars. These are actual real, scholars who actually follow what's in the Sharia, and that's the rulings that they give you. It's related to Sharia. And here's how you know, because notice every answer that you see on Islam QA will have this number. It appears here as well. So this number, this is actually the number for the ruling, and it's an official number. So let's see what this, so this guy's asking a question. He's saying, why is it that having concubines is not haram? Can other Muslims have concubines? So now this is going to explain about the slaves here, and it says, so it's permissible for a master to be intimate with his slave woman. The answer is that because Allah has permitted it, so they're going to explain and of course they're going to use the Quran verse. So this is what a proper Sharia scholar will just quote the verse and just tell you, yes, you can. And but there's something, the slave woman is not being given because he has paid money to buy her. He has fought for the sake of Allah. So notice what it says here. The reason why this is permitted is that this slave woman belongs to him. Either because he has paid money to buy her. So yes, in Islam, according to Islam QA, it's official from their scholars. You can pay money to buy a woman. You understand that? Or he has fought for the sake of Allah and acquired her among the war booty. So yes, Muslims can still fight in war and get women as war booty. And remember, this is official. The Dawah Muslims will lie to you. This website doesn't. These are just real Muslim scholars. And whatever they say to you, this is Islam. And, right, so the reason for which people may be taken as slaves is if they are kafirs who are waging war against Allah and His Messenger. And, because actually this is a sheikh speaking. So, well, gives them, so the sword of Allah might prevail over the kuffar. Yeah, so this is a quote from some sheikh, and then he's another quote from another sheikh. But there is something, I don't know if it's this one. There's another one where it's, see these, if they're who are waging war against Allah and His Messenger, so that's what this scholar says. But there's something here. You should not face way to right. Setting free, blah, blah, blah. Right, so with regard to Muslims owning slaves, he should be very careful to establish that those who are bought or sold now are indeed slaves, because Islam has limited the sources of slaves, which were many before the coming of Muhammad, and has only allowed only one source, which is kafir, prisoners of war, when the kuffar are fighting the Muslims. There is no other way in which they may be enslaved, except those who are captured as a result of fighting between kafirs and Muslims, or their children. So these are some answers there. Now here's the interesting thing. Remember, the subject at the top is slave women. So when if the unbelievers come to fight the Muslims, then are they going to send their women to fight? And the answer is, well, no, the men come to fight. So how can you get slave women if only men come to fight you? It says, no, you get slave women when you go to attack the unbelievers. So that's what you have to remember. So that's the ruling for that one. I'm trying to find the next one, which has got something interesting in it. So, intercourse with female prisoners of war. So it's not permissible for... So, alright, the question is it allowed to have sexual intercourse with your londi, a female prisoner of war, without getting married to her? It is not permissible for a man to have intercourse with anyone except his wife or his female slave. A wife becomes, Muslim may obtain a concubine. Alright, so she may originally, and a Muslim may obtain a concubine from the ruler or commander if he took part in fighting in jihad, or if he buys her from her owner. Ooh, that's slavery. You buy the woman. Isn't that interesting? She becomes permissible of him by virtue of his ownership. Remember, this isn't, we're not talking old time here. This is, the guy's asking the question now. So this is current. Look, 2004, this is after, even after 2001, 11th of September, and the guy's asking the question about female prisoners of war, and the scholar is telling him straight, yeah, you can. Simple. Now he's quoting the same Quran verse as the previous one, right hand possessed. And do you have any pretty much? Yeah, so this is giving the ruling on it. With these few of them, which of his wives, whether he has one or more wives, or he's not married. Oh, see, this is the best part. Islam permits a man to have intercourse with his slave woman, whether he has one or more wives, or he is not married. So there you go. They don't have to be married according to the official ruling of Islam. So as it says, female prisoners of war may be distributed by the commander in jihad because he has the choice of either distributing them or ransoming them or setting them free. So if you hear about Islamic State doing their fighting and, they're taking prisoners of war, and of course the Dawa Muslims will say, they're not real Muslims. Well, guess what? This scholar who is here on this Islam QA, and this is from proper scholars, because as noticed, it's got a number here. This number is official and it's not going to go away. So that is the same as the fatwa number, this 20085, and the answer here is official, and it's not contested by any of the four schools. If it was, this answer would have to come down. Does a slave woman become free? Now I think this is the one I'm after. Remember, this is 2009. He's asking this question, or it was published. Does a slave woman become free if her master marries her? That's amazing, isn't it? Now, this is the one I'm after. The lying Dawa Muslims, when you ask them, they will tell you that, if you have a slave woman gets captured in war, you have to marry them. Or slave women captured in the war are married. This is what the official scholars have to say at Islam QA. Remember, if a Dawa Muslim ever tells you, no, they have to marry them, then they're going to have to explain to you why Islam QA completely disagrees with them. And so let's see what he says. The scholars are unanimously agreed. Notice it's unanimous. That's all four schools, and including the Sharia school, which is official as well. Sorry, Shia school, which is an official school as well, that is recognized. So all four schools and the Shia one unanimously agreed that it is not permissible for the master to marry his slave woman. And that's official. That's Islam. 100%. So any Dawa Muslim telling you that they have to the slave woman has to be married to the sort of mujahid fighter. Complete liar. This is the actual truth here on Islam QA. And he's going to explain, this good scholar is going to explain proper Islam to you. He's going to say, because the contract of ownership is stronger than the contract of marriage, and it contains all the same conditions as the marriage contract and more, what he's essentially saying is that when you have a contract of ownership, you can't then marry the woman. So the contract of ownership that you get, either, as it said before, either the commander gives you the woman because of the fighting, or you pay someone for her, then because of that contract that you get, you can't actually marry her. And this is official Islam, 100%. Scholars unanimously agreed, so there's no question about it. So no Dawah Muslim can tell you anything else apart from what these scholars have unanimously agreed. This is 100%. So it says, it is permissible for him to marry the slave woman of another man if the conditions are fulfilled. And so now he's going to go into that. So notice, it has to be the slave woman of another man, not the slave woman that you've been given in war or you paid for. So this scholar here, Ibn Qadama, is going to explain. And so he says, the master does not have the right to marry his slave woman because ownership makes him entitled to benefit from what he owns and intimacy. So the scholar is giving his proof now for why he's saying what he said. So it cannot be combined with a contract that is weaker than it. So it says, if he becomes his wife's owner, which is a strange thing to say, and she is a slave woman, her marriage contract is annulled. So what he's saying, if he becomes his wife's owner, right? So what he's saying is, I don't know. It's very weird, this law in Islam. The same applies if a woman becomes the owner of her husband, which is interesting. So in Islam, the wife can actually have the man as a slave as well. That's impressive. So so it's at least two-way slavery. So the women, we should be seeing some women with some men slaves in, isn't it? But I wonder where they are. Her marriage contract is annulled. We do not know of any difference of opinion among the scholars concerning this, so that's it. All the scholars agree. So Al-Mughni, in his commentary on the verse, whoever of you have not means wherewith to wed free believing women, they may wed believing girls from among those slaves whom your right hand possesses. That's Al-Qurtubi. So now, notice how this scholar is going to disagree with what Qurtubi says, because of course, a Dawah Muslim will jump on this and say, look, believing girls from among those slaves whom your right hand. So he's saying that you have to marry them. So no. This scholar is going to now correct Al-Qurtubi and say these words, those slaves whom your right hand possess, means let him marry the slave woman of another. So essentially the consensus of the scholars is that this is what Qurtubi means, and there's no question about it. And so no Dawah Muslim can speak against these scholars, 100%. And then we got another sheikh. It is haram for a slave to marry his mistress. Yeah, see, so a man can be a slave to a woman, according to scholarly census, because there is a contradiction between her being his mistress and him being her husband, because each of them come under different rulings. It is haram for a master to marry his slave woman, because the contract of ownership is stronger than the contract of marriage, and a contract cannot be combined with one that is weaker than it, end quote. So don't want to go for too long, but just want people to understand and be sure that yes, slavery in Islam is 100% according to the consensus of the scholars, and it's fully 100% legal. And any Dawah Muslim who says that you have to marry a slave woman, absolute 100% liar, according to the official scholars of Islam. So now let's go to the next one, because I don't think we need to bother with any of these other ones, because we've got all the good ones anyway. So let's find out officially. Now we're going to go to the next one, which is the controversial one that no one likes, but we're going to have to do it. Okay, so this is the one that all the crazy Christians, they love to go on at Muslims because it's like they want the Muslims to stab them. I don't know. You know, they love shouting this sort of stuff at Muslims. But what we're going to do here, we're going to do this without mentioning their Prophet or Aisha or anything. This is going to be just official rulings by the scholars. So let's find out. So that's an easy search to type in. If anyone doesn't know how to spell young and girls, then they've got a problem. So let's see what it says. It says, on acting and the ruling on marrying young girls. Oh dear. Let's see what this guy has to say. What is the ruling of Islam acting in movies? Is it allowed? What time of films? No one cares about movies. Why is Islam allowed to marry many girls of age below 10 without their permission? What? You sure? Maybe this scholar hopefully is going to correct this guy and tell him, no, such a thing is not going to happen because we are like Christians and we will not allow that. So it is said that in the case of children, it requires the consent should be of their parents only. I also know it requires to get the permission in the case of adults. Actually, marriage has to take place between the persons who have even a little maturity. But in the case of children, it not happens. The English is quite mad. Can you justify this ruling of Islam, child marriage? So now, if you go by the Dawah Muslims, this sheikh is just going to blast this guy and say, how dare you? So let's see what the sheikh says. So praise be to Allah. That's annoying. Let's see. So now he's going to give you, so firstly, the act of acting, yeah, no one cares about acting. So, secondly, marrying a young girl, and remember that good old fatwa number is, make sure to quote it, 22442. So that's the number you have to give when you're telling that Dawah Muslim that he's a liar. So marrying a young girl before she reaches the age of adolescence is permitted. What? This sheikh, I thought he was going to diss this guy, but come on, man. All right. The age of adolescence is permitted in Sharia. Indeed, it was narrated that there was scholarly consensus on this point. Oh, these guys, man. And and you see, here's the funny part. The Dawah Muslims will not quote, the Dawah Muslims will say that this verse is being misquoted. But the consensus of the scholars is that no, this verse is the official verse to show that you can marry young girls. Oh dear. So let's keep going because we don't need to read this stuff. In the verse, we see that Allah has made the iddah in the case of divorce of a girl who does not have periods because she is young and has not yet reached puberty 3 months. This clearly indicates that Allah has made this a valid marriage. See? So the Dawah Muslims are lying again because the official scholars, and remember it says, where's that term? There's a term you always have to look for. Yeah, scholarly consensus. This term means that no Dawah Muslim can go against the ruling, 100%. Always look for that word, scholarly consensus. That means there's no going back. And the Prophet married Aisha. Okay, skip that because the Christians, or the mad Christians anyway, will just go mad at that as well. So let's keep going and see what the scholars have to say. And the fact that it is permissible to marry a young girl doesn't mean that it is permissible to have intercourse with her. Okay. So maybe he's going to say that you have to have intercourse at, 18. So let's see what he says. Rather, that should not be done until she is able for it. Yeah, 18, is that? For that reason, the Prophet delayed the consummation. Yeah, we don't care about Aisha. Let's keep going. And the guardian of the girl agree upon something that will not cause harm to the young girl, then that may be done. So that's their ruling. If they disagree, then Ahmad and Abu Ubaid say that once a girl reaches the age of 9, then the marriage may be consummated even without her consent. Oh dear, I thought. So what are all these lying Dawah guys saying 18? Where did they get that from? Because remember, Ahmad and Abu Ubaid, so these are their two, must be top scholars. Saying that does not, marriage may be consummated even without her consent. Oh dear, I mean, see, this is the thing. So without mentioning, their prophet or his young wife or whatever, things are still bad. That's the thing. So you're not going to get executed for, when you talk about this stuff, as long as you mention this part, you won't get executed for insulting their prophet, because now we're just talking about what the scholars are saying. Now, if a Muslim says you should be executed for saying repeating what a scholar said, then, well, that shows you that Islam is a proper messed up, well, it's not a religion, it's a proper messed up, gang, that's it. Or a mafia, what we should call it. So even without a consent, and we know what that's called in Europe, but I'm not going to say it, because of course the Muslims will go crazy. But that does not apply in the case of who is younger. So that means if they're not 9. Maalik al-Shaafa'i, Shaafi. Sorry, that's not Shaafi, because Maalik al-Shaafa'i and Abu Haneefah. Oh no, it is Shaafi. Yeah, so that's Shaafi. So that's Maalik. Yeah, it's the way he's pronounced. So it's Maliki, Shaafi, and Hanafi said. So these are the 3 of their scholars from old time. The marriage may be consummated when the girl is able for intercourse, which varies from one girl to another. So no age limit can be set. Dearie me. This is the correct view. Oh, look, you see? Maliki, Shaafi, and Hanafi. Well, it should be Abu Haneefah. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's how they, yeah. So this is Haneefah, but the school's called Hanafi for some reason. So this is the correct view of the 3 big scholars of Islam, which means no Dawah Muslim can override them ever until Islam is destroyed. And it says, there is nothing in the hadith of Aisha to set an age limit, look at that, or to forbid that in the case of a girl who is able for it before the age of 9. Dude, I'm telling you, if you've got any young children, you better not be a Muslim, man, I'm telling you, because you're going to have some trouble if some problem comes about and then some of these rough Muslims come and get your family, man. You're in trouble. Look at what these scholars are saying, man. To set an age limit or to forbid that in the case of a girl who is able for it before the age of 9, really? Or to allow in the case of a girl who is not able for it, whatever that means, and has reached the age of 9, okay. Al-Dawoodi said, Aisha was reached physical maturity at the time when their marriage was consummated. Okay. It is preferable for a guardian not to marry off his daughter when she is still young, for sure. Unless there is a valid reason for that. Well, yeah, obviously. So what they need to do is ignore what Maliki, Shafi, and Hanafi said, and instead you should be sensible and go by what this other scholar is saying, that it is preferable for a guardian not to marry off his daughter. It should be noted that al-Shaafa'i and his companions said it is preferable for fathers and grandfathers not to marry off a virgin until she reaches the age of puberty and they ask her permission, lest she end up in a marriage that she dislikes. Yeah, that makes sense. So then why did up here they said something different? See, this is strange, isn't it? How these scholars, they say one thing in one part, and then suddenly they're saying something different. You kind of wonder if this Shafi was a real person, or if he's like a caricature that they invented to put rulings onto. And they ask her permission, lest she end up in a marriage that she dislikes. Yeah, of course, that's what happens most of the time, isn't it? What they said does not go against the hadith of Aisha. Yeah, you guys love that hadith, isn't it? Because what they meant is that they should not marry her off before she reaches puberty, if there is no obvious interest to be served that they fear will be missed out on if they delay. Don't know what they're talking about there. As in the hadith of Aisha, they love this hadith, don't they? In that case, it is preferable to go ahead with the marriage, really? Because the father is enjoined to take care of his child's interests, yeah, really? And not to let a good opportunity. What does that mean? See, these Muslims, they seem to go back and forth, and I don't know. But you see, I don't want to say anything derogatory because I know any Muslims might watch this will get upset. But all I'm showing you is just what is here, and you know what to search for. And you know how to go to Islam QA and just read this hadith, get the Muslims to read it. And that's the important thing. Make sure it's the nice Muslims, of course. Get them to read it. Because, of course, remember, the Muslims who are murderers, thieves, or rapists, they won't care about this. Make sure it's a nice Muslim who's speaks nicely and they're sincere and they actually want to have a good life and, they're a lot like a Christian. Those are the ones you want to bring to this website. Just show them what's written there, make them understand that this is what their scholars say. The Dawa Muslims are just a bunch of liars. Israelites will return to take down Islam.